Okay, so this was from week 2. It was number 4 in the problem set. Uh, and we're talking about a house being valued. It says in the year 1985. Oh, excuse me. The house was valued at 104,000, and by 2005, the value appreciated to 147,000. So, what was the annual growth rate between 1985 and 2005? And assume the value continued to grow by the same percentage. What is the value of the house in 2010? Okay, so we're going to start off then, and we're going to use one of these exponential functions. Okay, and often it'll be a naught and r to the t, or you could use whatever letters. Okay, um, so a naught's the initial value. Okay, and we know that is 104,000. Okay, and then a of t is going to be, the value after so many years. And we know between 1985 and 2005, that's 20 years, right? The 1985 is t equals 0, and then we'll count years, after that. Okay? You could actually use 1985 as your t, but then you're going to wind up with some really large numbers, and the calculators actually may stop being able to handle that sort of stuff. So it's typical that we let the first year be 0 when we do things like this. Okay. So now it says 2005, that's 20 years later. Okay, so in 2005, that would be when t is equal to 20. And we have the value at that time. So that's the 147,000. So we get 104,000 r to the 20th. Okay, so I need to solve this for r because I'm trying to find out what that rate is. So I'm going to divide both sides then by the 104,000. So if I divide that by 104,000, let's see, 147. That's going to be approximately 1.413, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to go out 3 decimal places just because. Okay. Now, when doing this MOBIS, you might actually want to leave it as a fraction. So let me go ahead and just do that real quick. And write that as 147 over 104. Okay. Now, if I want to get r by itself, I have to get rid of this 20, right? So it's a lot like having an r squared. If you had an r squared, what would we do? You would take the square root. Well, this is an r to the 20th. So what I would like to do then is I'm going to take the 20th root. Okay. Now, in my calculator, what I'm going to type, because I find this easier than going through all of the menus to find that root, is you use the root and you do a fraction, and that's the denominator. It's 1 over whatever the root is. Okay, so that's what I would type in. I have 147 over 104 to the 1 over 20th. Okay. When I do that, then what do I get? I get R is 1.017. So that is the rate. What that means now is that I actually have the formula to find out whatever else. It's going to be A of t equals 104,000 times 1.017 to the t. Now, if I need to find this in the year 2010, that would be when t equals 25, right? I'm going to put the 25 in for my t. I'm going to evaluate this function. 1,007 to the 25th. And that tells me that A of 25 is going to be $158,510.18. Okay, so in the year 2025 or 2005, that will be the value of my house. Okay. Now there's some, maybe some rounding issues with Mobius and stuff in here. It may be a good idea on your calculator to go out several more decimal places than when I wrote down here. I was just kind of being lazy when I'm writing things down on the screen here, but it might be advisable to either store that uh, rate that you get over here when you do this in your calculator as something, or maybe even go out 6 or 7 decimal places when you're typing it in, because we know Mobius has a little bit of error, and when you're raising something to the 25th power, if you only round it to the first decimal place, then it's definitely going to give you a wrong answer by the time you keep raising that power. Okay, so hopefully this helps.